Yeah, I would have took it. I promise you. You can go ahead. They'll ask me if they want to answer.
Yeah, coach, going back and looking at the film, I don't know. I didn't think the offensive line blocked maybe as bad as we thought coming out, but maybe there was a problem here and there with just having 7 real drives.
Now I tell you what,
Exacerbated.
I thought they, in all honesty, I thought they, how you could convince your team of this is how we're going to win. I guess it's the old Dean Smith 4 corners. You know what I mean? Especially with the clock like it is. What was the game? 2 hours and 45 minutes. You know what I mean? Well, then you start pressing because you're supposed to win by a bunch of margin. It didn't go so well at first. Here's what I saw. Um, we're not covering. Our fits up front have to get better. In other words, everything's getting popped out for safeties, and we're not making any of them miss either. So we've got to make safeties miss. We quit putting RPO on the back end of it. We weren't particularly throwing the ball well either, not catching it. And so we, at some point, Dan and I had a conversation about we're going to win the game. Let's see if we can't try to get established, get our run game on this. And we tried several different things. We found out some things that we can do and some things that we can't do. How we could take the ball with the last 6 minutes and displace the line of scrimmage like we did and not do it at the beginning. We've got to figure all that kind of stuff out. But the bottom line is this, is that our fits aren't good at tight end. They got to get better. Our fits are not good consistently up front. They've got to get better. Our blocking on the outside is on edge. It's got to get better. Our catching game, we had 2 third downs. We dropped the ball. If we stay on the field, the game could be much different. Those things we have to get better. But after I saw that, I actually thought we played better last week than we did this week up front. But I didn't think we played too bad actually last week up front. This week, it's all about edges. It's about displacing linemen. And when we're in double team, the only time that we truly displaced their D line is at the end of the game, the last 6 minutes. Those things have got to become more consistent. I think Bo has to become a more vocal leader. He's got to go. I think having Brady back will help us. But we have to get better there. We're addressing it. We addressed it last week. It may not be just a quick fix. I think where we're going in the order of how we're playing our games is going to help us with a new coordinator. And there were some mistakes, the new coordinator continued to try to figure out exactly what we do well, what we can do well, but you have to do something well. And I think our backs got to run harder.
You mentioned after the press conference the pin and pull play where you're talking about hitting the hole. I think you're talking about second quarter.
You saw it.
Yeah. And then you kind of bounces it out. Well, later in the game, he actually was hitting it.
Is made a safety miss and got 8 or 10 yards on the play.
Is that a conversation that you have? Is it like you have to trust the hole's going to be there because Limmer blew it open at about the same time, or is it you have to have patience? Is it trust or patience? What's the
what pin and pull is? You got to understand the play. You know what I mean? What pin and pull is it is running. It should guarantee you getting the ball outside the tight end. It should guarantee that because you've seen so many stretch plays that are full zone blocking plays, and they hit behind the center. I mean, that we're acting like we're stretching. Every now and then it'll hit front side of the tack. Never gets outside the tight end. And it's pin and pull is one where you're going, I'm going to get in space. Obviously you don't want to pin and pull if they're in a 9 technique. You'd rather run some kind of inside gap scheme, inside zone. But if someone's going to give you that, you want to take advantage of it. You can get out to the edge, but then it's kick out cover. That's just what it is. So when our tackle went to kick out, we just kept trying to outrun the kick out plot. Well, that's not the design of the play. And so again, it's a new play for us. But We should be better than that. We run it all the time in practice. So I think that is just trusting and understanding the play, to be perfectly honest with
For the questions we asked the other night about your run game, your fans have seen a team that ranked seventh in the country in rushing
you.
the last 2 years. So maybe is it too much to expect that a bunch of new linemen, a new coordinator, that you can hit at that level? I mean, you got to build up to that.
You know, it's just a different offense. I think that's whenever you go hire new coordinators, that's your biggest fear, that something that's worked well and fast doesn't anymore. You know what I mean? And we've had our trouble running the ball last 2 years at times, but we've been pretty consistent, running the football. Um, so no, I don't think that's I could promise you whatever the concern would be. No, that's not true, because their concerns a little bit more for me about different things. So, the concerns of the fans, certainly, I can promise you we want to win and have success as bad as anybody. And so that's valid. We've got to fix a way. We've got to find a way to fix it. I'm not sure. I think I might have said it the other night. But having RPOs on the back end of some things, it can dictate the numbers in the box. Unless they're just willing to play man-to-man coverage the whole night, which our league probably will. But if you're not having the threat of throwing the ball, which we took away, then you're going to get a load of guys. And that's what happened. Then it becomes frustrating because, I said, I've never been around a team that couldn't run inside zone, and we haven't had success with it. And it's either we're not getting the movement, our fits aren't good, it's kicking outside to an unblocked safety. So all those things we went in depth with yesterday about how can we get our kids the best way of winning. And it doesn't necessarily have to be running the football, but you have to run the football to win it.
So you beat BYU by 17, could have scored at the end and made it 24. So KJ talked about playing with more passion and maybe understanding the opponent, whatever. But so your players saw a blowout on the road. Do you have to kind of warn them again? This is a different BYU team. And what's the scouting report on them?
Yeah, a hard team. Anybody who's undefeated, including us, they're hard to beat. They haven't learned how to lose yet in that season. That group of guys that's playing together haven't been beat, so they don't know how to lose. But I think the tape, to be perfectly honest with you, they're 2-0. Their tape, they play extremely hard. I mean, they do. They did last year. I think they're a better football team than they were last year. Big, physical team. They've got a guy at each level on defense. I think really good. Manny for defensive end. Chile, I love him last year. Just a hard playing kid. And then Robinson. So they've got more than that, but those are kind of standout guys for the defense. They're totally different than last year. They've got a guy from Weber State in, and they are multiple. And against us, because of our not having success on the ball, really don't see it. Looks, they move pre-snaps and things we've got to get ready for. But they ran odd pressure, their fire zone team, that we have not seen this year either, where it's through 3 under 3 deep. So they're going to cause us some problems because they move so much, they blitz quite a little bit. Offensively, they're really big, really good at tackle, really good. Kingsley, again, I said it last week, but I tried to get him Georgia. I got down to Oregon, and then they got the kid, that kid, the kid from Oklahoma State, if we have a few guys. I think those are 2 premier type tackles. And I don't know if Epps is going to be back or not, but he was hurt he's hurt 2 weeks. He's a really good player. At wide out 2, the number 2, this Chase Roberts is a really catch a lot of balls. He reminds me a little bit of R4, to be perfectly honest with you. And then, they got the quarterback transfer in from Pitt. And number 5 is a really good wide out too. So they're a stretch team, a box counter team. They run a lot more stretch this year than they have in the past. I think they're still trying to run the ball a little bit as well. Two teams remind me a little bit of each other. I think their defense is playing outstanding. Their offense is playing well. Their defense is, to me, really playing well, like ours. And so it's a good matchup. A big physical football team.
Ball seemed to be playing pretty confident in the second half. You know, do you feel good about his health where he's at, and then I guess the linebacker room as a whole now that you're back?
Yeah, health-wise, he's fine. He's ready to go. We had a little problem with the tight end crossing going into the flat. We missed that twice on Saturday. But who's running well, moving well, made a nice tackle. And I guess maybe their longest play, they came down and made a tackle 20 yards down the field or whatever. But, you know, he's just been hurt or out of the game. We've got to get him settled in, but I did think he played a fine game. Raheem's Thomas been probably the most consistent that we've probably that's not that in 2 weeks. And then of course we got Greer, and Crook didn't get a chance to get in there just the way the game was going.
And it seemed like, you know, he made another key block on the goal line. What does that say about him as a guy who, you know, he's not getting the ball to score, but he's willing to do whatever it takes?
Well, he's our best by far, our best blocker down there. And so you go, well, we're going to use him in the block. Well, if you're not using the block, who, you know, what other guy are you going to use, especially this week with Rocket being out? We're going to have another real big guy back there, you know. So he's a great kid, great team player. I wish we could have more success handing him the ball. And I do believe that we will in the future, but it says a lot about his character, you know, especially all the things that he's gone through. But he has done well on the goal line, as you said. Makes some key blocks, and 23 did cool that.
I think just touch on it there. Rocket, is he for sure out this week, and just how's he doing overall?
Rocket will be out this week, and we'll figure out, you know, how fast he can recover. Got to get some swelling off of him, and once we do that, then we'll see how fast, whether we can have him back for LSU and stuff like that.
With his turf toe, is that an injury he had in the Western Carolina game, or is it practice? Or?
No, he got it on Thursday, and late in the practice on Thursday, we thought he was going to be okay, you know, and then he went out there and he said he couldn't push off of it, and you know, and in all honesty, Stewart played a good game. Had one ball caught on him there, but played a good game, and it'll help us in the future with that. But I expect Duty back this week.
Coach, BYU, they scored 14 in week 1 and then more than 40 in week 2. I was curious, what have you seen on film that kind of let that offense take a step forward?
I think Sam Houston's really good. I think they're really good on defense. I think they're one of the top 20 as far as ratings go in their first 2 games. What they played. So I think they played a pretty good defense. The first game, obviously, they have some first-time guys. You know, the quarterback, all that kind of stuff. I thought the second game, you know, if you look at us on offense, and we didn't hardly have any explosive plays. You know, and explosive plays are what you need for a lot of reasons. You know, but BYU got quite a few explosive plays through the air. They hit 83 for a long pass, and so I think the run game was better against Southern Utah. It was a lot better than the week before, but they threw the quarterback threw the ball much better game 2 than he did with the one. What he's offering. They got good receivers.
And then on the flip side, you know, in that matchup for your defense, it's been a pretty good 2 weeks. I mean, what was there anything that's surprised, or what are you most happy with the defense at this point in the season?
Well, we haven't had anybody lose behind us. You know, I think that's, you know, we're not giving easy points. We have had a few MAs underneath routes and things of that nature. We got picked the other night in a 3-by-1, but they end up making that bigger play for us. We were in man coverage. But I think right now we're swarming the ball well. I didn't think we tackled as well Saturday as we did the first game. We're not wrapping up. We got to wrap up. We're just trying not to break out. We got to wrap up. But I've been really proud of our defense. I put them in a bad situation. They had a punt, goal line, they stopped them. And say, well, they got down there. Well, teams are going to get down there. But the two field goals in that game, they're really proud. And situational though, I think we've been a lot better than what we have been in the past.
There's a video circulating on the internet of KJ getting Skittles after a touchdown. I don't know what's the backstory behind that. Anything?
No, I guess it's just like candy. I don't know.
It's a reward or low.
No, it ain't where. I need to find out where he's getting them from.
Sam, you've said a couple of times Jaheim Thomas has never been your most consistent linebacker. Like, what's he doing regardless where he makes the most plays
Pretty
with?
much mistake-free. He's right now he's our most consistent tackler. Not jumping out of gaps, pretty much gap free, gap sound in there. And he's just a guy that, for those reasons, been playing pretty well.
Armstrong's been pretty good for you the first 2 weeks. Just going back to when you were trying to get in here, does anything come to mind, like the recruiting process wise, maybe?
He's just a lot better than I thought he would be. Perfectly honest with you, he got faster. He showed flashes. Tape of all the things that we've seen here, but he's Tesla. Let's put it like this: Tesla's about what I thought he would be, and Armstrong much better than what I thought he would be, and I think it's just because of his speed, overall speed, and his ability to catch. But I think it has everything to do with what kind of person he is. He's just a hard work, great kid. Both of them are, a lot of them are. But you asked me specifically about him. He's just a real great kid that's appreciative of, playing for us, all that full capacity crowd and those things. Yeah, you know what's happening right now. None of them is playing very much. They've got the rotation. I'll be honest with you, I don't know who to take out of that rotation. And you got to get Nico in there somewhere too, because he can fly and does some nice things. But Kiwi is a guy that there's certainly we're talking about moving up to the ones. However, I think we had Jeff had over 30 reps, and I don't think anybody else did. Now the game was, there wasn't as many reps, but most of them were in that high 20s. Now Stu came in; he didn't have that many, but he was very disruptive. It was good to have him back as well. But he was knocking people to the right and scrimmage back. So that's going to turn into somebody's reps too.
That is the line in the week and you see from what he meant to you in that game and 2 games back.
I think he showed up. He didn't really have any production in the first week, and I think that probably drove him a little bit as well. But he was chasing the guy. The guy run out of bounds on one of them. He just fell down on another one. But he played very physical and very hard, and seemed like he was a little bit more into the game this week than what he was last week. But he's like a kid for it.
Marion getting maybe closer to being. I know he was injured for a while. Marion Harris getting maybe closer to playing some and getting a look at guard maybe. Well,
that's where we're at with him. We pretty much put it. Well, they're doing a little bit of both with him. He's closer. He's closer. Yeah, I'd say you're right. I'd say the question. He's closer. I don't know that he's close enough right now to being any type of rotation, but he's closer, yes.
You put
There's not any awards for gunners, but,
And
yeah, I mean, Tyrone Brooks has really embraced that role. Just your thoughts on him, how well he gets down there and just, embracing that role when he really hadn't.
man,
And a lot of
I wish we could get his balls. Guy's a good player. But I mean, what are we, like 13, what were we, 13 to 19 or something like that. But throwing the ball very much, it's hard to get a lot of catches that way. So, I wish we could get him involved. I think he's really good. But with what you just said, I mean, he's so valuable, and this is going to be. They got a punter that's punts about 55 yards every single time, and I don't know if that's. I know he's good, but I don't know the air difference and all that kind of stuff on a punted ball, but he's really good. So Roden's got a big. I don't know if they're going to double him or not or what. Right now, people can't handle him one-on-one. He's done a really good job, and transfer kid like that to not be getting the balls that he wants and then continue to play like he has says a lot about. Really is.
More wide receivers are going to play like Satania said, he gets all like 11 snaps, and we can how explosive he can be.
Yeah.
What are the thoughts on getting him more?
I don't, what you do, but Craig, then you start talking about what are you trying to get accomplished. In other words, if you go to, we need a better blocker out there. He's willing and all that, but he's not, he's not as physical as possible, and that probably cost him a few reps, out there. But every week we have a rotation that we try to get into with those guys. So because I want to see. Nobody wanted to be 28-6, but I wanted to see some different guys. I want to see where we're at, and his reps kind of got skewed a little bit because of the quick throwing. But I think he's really talented.
Touched on it earlier about the running play that perhaps wasn't quite understood. Is that one of those things that just has to happen and be called in a game? Times you run it in practice?
No, I don't. I think it's a good question. I don't think so. I think it all depends on did you run that look in practice? Are they because what they did that was different than the week before is they gap moved. Before it was just they moved from a gap to head up, and then they swiped ball a couple times. So I think there's some of that. On the short yardage, we missed a run through at the linebacker, things that we practiced. I don't think any of our plays are difficult, but the bottom line is you got cover and you got block. You do. And the 4th and 1 didn't really have anything. We had to run through, but we left an edge guy out there. We didn't have a guy to block it. We need to can down a little bit further with the wide receiver. But that's a look that we hadn't seen. And worked out. He did good.
Reference to this today about the faster game, shorter game. Is your data showing that your play count is substantially lower number of plays?
Well, it is. And I don't know what we're going to do with it because we sure are getting the commercial. We're doing a good job there. And I don't mean that negative. We just are. And, but the spot using 40 seconds against a team that we're a big underdog, pretty smart. Especially if you've got a frustrated team over on the other side like we were. So we discussed that today in our staff meeting. How if you decide to do that, how would you talk to your team about it? Would they believe you that this is the best way to win, or would they believe that you don't think you can win? You know what I mean? Was a fine line, but we ran the four corners offense to perfection. You know, and so I don't know, but we had pretty good discussion with today. So
We said you kind of told Dan, let's just establish our running. So in other words, maybe you felt like the passing stuff was there, but you wanted to keep trying to run.
well, we weren't exactly going to catch me today. You know, I just thought that we could turn around and with the different things we talked about, especially after halftime, that we could turn around, do some positive things. So, happen. So that point, then now you're trying to make something happen, which I should have never done. I feel like we're not just trying to build a little momentum. That was
Keep the possibility of going on 4th and 1 at the 30-yard line, right? I mean, you don't want to say, okay,
well, I mean, as you saw, I went for it on 4th and 4. I've gone for it more fourth down this year than I have in my entire time there, I think. But and we've scored points off of it. I guess the first game we scored a couple. Everybody's on 4th and goal, but the other time, and then we scored the other day on. I think it was 4th and 4. We scored on that, so I'm becoming a believer of it a little bit more, but not in that situation. And I asked Nate's question right there. The Saturday's game marks the first traditionally big name opponent for both teams. Do you anticipate both teams perhaps preparing with increased urgency compared to their first 2 game weeks? You know, what's amazing in first 2 game weeks, what's amazing is that you prepare for the first game and it's like, when is it going to get here? You know, at some point. If you prepare about 9 days out, you're assuming that your guys are going to be hyped up because of the first game of the year and all that kind of stuff. Your second game of the year, I felt like there was no. We prepared. You can prepare them all you want, as urgent as you want. They have to accept that there's a reason for urgency, and then they do. And sometimes it's simply because of who you're playing. I forget very much to ask questions about BYU, how I don't know what we did. But BYU, I know this. Last year, BYU was an urgent game. It was a must-win for us and all those type things. So it is now. And again, like I say, it's hard to beat a team that hadn't lost. Both of us haven't, so some of us won't have to. But I think our kids understand the urgency of this game.
Isaac and Andrew, we talk about the contested catches they're making all the time, but to make a contested catch, there's got to be good coverage. Are you seeing the separation maybe from the receivers that you want to at this point of the season?
Well, yeah, I think so. And I don't really know if we catch a couple of those days down, that I would go, we're not able to get over. You know what I mean? KJ threw the one into just an area that that's what got. But they had 200, you know. So no, I'm not too worried about that right now. I was, we caught the ball really, really well game 1, and then we had a couple drops, that hurt us. So we just got to catch the ball. I don't think KJ's holding the ball too long back there.
Games coming up, first of the season. You have preferences. One's home and one's away. You have a preference like the home game, the away game, anything like that? Or not worried about it?
I would, it depends on who you're playing. But obviously, you've got a hyped up situation, game, whatever it be. You'd like to play it at night, at home. And you'd like to play that one at 11 o'clock on the road. The only it's not really a concern today, but I guess it is. Go at night, go over there at night, four in a row on the road, but that's how it goes. And who'd you say what? LSU or whomever BYU, how how they're coming off of their schedule and night or day and all that kind of stuff. So, but if I have my brothers up there at home tonight, I'll wait 11. All right, guys.